So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 17 Pro Max versus the S26 Ultra 11 months later. Now, 11 months is a reference to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. This one's been out for about 5, but I'm going to do an updated comparison here between the two. I want to start by talking about the build, the feel on the hand, things of this sort, and how I've been feeling about it now. So I still feel like the S26 Ultra definitely does look a little bit more modern. You know, they do carry over some of the traits of the previous versions, but it just looks very modern right here with their, overall look and feel here with the S Pen and everything. So they've had this design shape kind of feel for a while, but this year they kind of put the privacy display. They updated the cameras to look a little bit cleaner. And generally, it just feels like a very nice premium product. Now, the iPhone 17 Pro Max carries over the same triple camera layout they've had ever since the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And it also looks very modern with their two-tone design. But feel in hand has to go to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. I'm still not changing my statements on that now that I'm 11 months in here. We're about to be 1 year next month, and we're going to be doing the 18 Pro Max versus this guy to see if it's worth it doing that trade-in or whatever. But the Galaxy over here, feel in hand, has been the best I felt in many, many years for this line of phones, probably since the smaller version of the Note, when they made that smaller Note version. This is because they curved the edges a bit, and generally the lightweight aluminum has just made this feel a little bit nicer than some previous versions in terms of holding. That doesn't mean it feels more premium. It's not as hefty, but at this point in time, I do got to say that I still prefer the feel in hand of the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but I feel like I can grip this S26 Ultra a little bit better. I feel like this slips out of my hand more, so I tend to prefer using the S26 Ultra in terms of not being concerned about dropping it. So if I had to say one needs a case more, it's this one. Now, every phone, a lot of people think needs a case, but really, with the S26 Ultra with a good screen protector and a skin on here, I don't think you would really drop it too much. This is due to the really flat rails, and it doesn't have like really slippery corners like on the iPhone. So this is just a very functional tool. I love the way the S26 Ultra feels in hand this year. While not quite as premium and high quality feeling as the S25 Ultra, it just feels like the better phone to use every day. Now, switching gears over to the display experience here, I don't think we're actually going to see any change besides maybe a little more brightness on the upcoming iPhone 18 Pro Max versus this iPhone 17 Pro Max. So display has been pretty strong. It hasn't really been an issue. You have True Tone, you have Night Shift, you have all the things you've come to know and love from the iPhone experience. I do think we're going to see a reduced dynamic island. So for this phone's going to look a little bit older if they do decide to reduce that dynamic island, because that's going to be just very obvious that you have the older display. But we do have very thin bezels on here, and overall it's been pretty good quality. I did get a little bit of a chip at the bottom of the display. I talked about it in a previous video. So it wasn't perfect overall in durability, and I don't even know how I got that because I didn't really drop it face down. I think it was just from some keys in my pocket or something like that. But it just goes to show that even with all their ceramic glass marketing and all this stuff, you can still chip this thing up. You can still dent it up. So there is still a reason to potentially invest in Apple Care if that's something that you want. But you can see I dented the phone there as well. There's another one somewhere over here. But, some people said that orange was going to change colors. It really didn't change too many colors. But yeah, it's been really good in terms of display. Brightness outdoors has been strong. The anti-reflective properties pretty good. I do have a screen protector now, which reduced those anti-reflective properties a bit. So if you want to retain those, you got to go without a screen protector. But when we're talking about by comparison to the S26 Ultra, I think the display was ruined for some people by this privacy display option due to the pixel arrangement underneath, where you really can't see, but you can kind of tell when you look on different axes and angles, things look a little bit different if you're used to a very sharp regular panel. Some people will notice it, sensitive eyes will notice it. A lot of people are never going to see this on a YouTube comparison. It just really depends on your eye for detail if you're going to even notice it. But generally, I've enjoyed and loved the heck out of this privacy display feature. This thing has been just amazing to use. It really does give you a level of privacy you just cannot find on other smartphones out there, and it's pretty innovative. It's actually even more innovative than using something like the brand new Z Fold lineup. So I wish there was privacy display options on those, but there's not. And I also hope they can find a way to kind of still make the display as equally sharp as other panels in the future if they decide to carry this privacy display over. But yeah, generally you will just find a better overall panel on the S26 Ultra if you want to talk about specs. We do have ourselves 500 pixels per inch, and the phone gets definitely better anti-reflective properties, which to me make the display feel a little bit more premium. I will say though that it doesn't get as bright as the iPhone at like 2600 in its peak. However, it's pretty hard to tell because you can still see both of these very easily, so it's not that noticeable that the iPhone's a little bit brighter. Also, you can't really trigger the extra brightness on the iPhone like you can on the Samsung. So having these options just gives this phone a level of display that just kind of feels a little bit like a step above this iPhone 17 Pro Max over here. You can also change screen modes, and there are some things in accessibility you could do with display over there, but it just can't match it. And then the ability to take advantage of this display has been basically Samsung's win over the past several years. This has been going on since forever, basically, having these pop view windows, split screen. It's just laughable that we don't have a split screen still. On the iPhone Max, it's been out since the 11 series, the 10s Max actually series. Heck, I even think they could have did split screen way back on the Plus model iPhones. Those were probably big enough as well for a split screen, but we still haven't seen one. And yeah, so it's going to have to go there, both at 6.9 inches. Talking about software, the software has been pretty good on both. I would say more stable on the Samsung. However, Apple's been cleaning it up with recent versions of the iOS 26.6. So we do have, I would say, pretty much a draw here at this point. It's gotten a lot more stable on the left, but Samsung to me still has been doing really good by not releasing software unless it's really well stable. So I don't see too many issues over here, not too many app crashes. I've actually seen the Samsung crash a little bit less than the iPhone. The iPhone has given me some weird crashes here and there in terms of like the apps would sometimes just close themselves. It's very rare. Like it doesn't happen enough to make it a major point in this comparison, but it just found this phone to be a little bit more stable. But in terms of software updates, I still feel like this is behind because when they come immediately to the iPhone. I feel like you can get it in one region over here, and then you got to wait like a day or two, and then you'll get it on your phone. And if you're using an Ultra and you're using like the previous version of the Ultra, they're always prioritizing the latest phone. So it makes sense. I mean, they are the latest hardware, but at the same time, I have more confidence in recommending the iPhone for software if you care a lot about consistent updates. However, these updates don't really change the experience drastically like they do when Samsung releases a new One UI. There just seems to be more changes that happen over here, although that's been slowing down a little bit over the past couple of years. Samsung's updates used to be a lot larger. They're starting to me to get a little bit more like refinements now. We do see some changes here and there, and definitely noticeable ones, but Apple did a good one with Liquid Glass, but they still tend to have this core experience about the same. So yeah, if you just like a lot of customization, variation, and changes in the day-to-day, this S26 Ultra was still, to me, the more fun phone to use. Performance-wise, the iPhone has been an absolute beast, but one area where it actually doesn't feel like incredibly fast is, I would just say, the way it navigates the software. It just feels a little bit slower. I would say it's polished looking, like it feels good to use. They do have it set up to where it's visually pleasing to look at. However, I gotta say that in my whole 11 months using this phone, there's just sometimes I was wishing I was on the Samsung device, because this device just feels a little bit snappier the way it navigates across. Now, you can set it up to be a little bit slower feeling, but just swiping through things, kind of going through apps, finding stuff, everything just feels like I'm getting to things quicker. And so if you like speed, I gotta say the Samsung is the one to choose here. It just felt speedier in pretty much all respects, whether you're navigating the UI, the actual performance. It just felt like a faster phone. It also has better not thermal, but it has better sustained performance in the games I found. Although the iPhone doing a really good job with its better thermal efficiency due to the construction of the build, giving you the aluminum over here. So this was a great option here. These have been two of the best phones I think we've ever seen on planet Earth. Now, when it comes to the camera, it kind of feels like the same old stuff. I mean, we do have ourselves a little bit more zoom for sure on this iPhone, but the real one that I really noticed a lot this year I'm going to keep coming back to it, has been this front-facing setup. This front-facing camera giving you an ultra-wide angle. It just feels so far ahead the competition that I wish they would just put these ultra-wides, because you have to go to a fold to get that ultra-wide camera because you're basically just using the rear version. Samsung still, why I say same old is because you still see this long zoom like we've been seeing on their previous ultra lines. It is a little bit sharper in pretty much most respects. They do have a really good log video option in recording. Horizontal lock is a game-changing feature for video if you need to use it. And it's a little bit more user can control whatever you want. So if you want to get down to all the controls yourself, this phone has still felt a lot better. And having these custom LUT packs in here was pretty cool, to say the least. That really does make this feel like ultra experience. However, when we shift over to the front-facing camera, nowhere near as wide on the front-facing camera. And I think things like this are what impresses consumers more, is their, things you're going to use, like getting people in a group shot. However, I will say that front-facing camera is still very sharp nonetheless, but I've just enjoyed Samsung's variable features in here. There's just so many features to play with, and it's been like this for a while, but the Ultra really does pack it on, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of like get disappointed when the Z Fold 8 and 8 Ultra doesn't offer the same full setup, or even the smaller S line doesn't offer the full setup that the Ultra offers, because it's just a great package of camera over there. And the iPhone still, to me, for video, it's still got this smooth, easy focus video. It just kind of feels like the Samsung phone's the more, pro camera, if you want to like play around with pro like features. But iPhone does it pretty good as well. So this is very, very tight. It just really comes down to user preference and how they actually process the photos, which one you're going to enjoy a little bit more. So when it comes to battery, both these phones are all-day troopers for sure. The iPhone has been a slightly better experience for me in terms of going more than about 2 days. The Samsung can get to that day and a half mark, but it's definitely a bit lower when you're doing a little bit harder use on the phone. For some people, they have opposite experiences, so really battery is a little bit subjective, especially when they're this close in the size. Both of them are 5,000-ish, a little bit higher on the iPhone, but I just want the iPhone to be better on standby and to just last 2 full days. The Samsung is about a day and a half for me, which means like I can get through the next work day, but I'm not going to be having like a ton of battery. I'm going to be looking for that charger, where the iPhone, I'm not really worried about it too much, but it will hit red as well if you're pushing them hard. Both these phones very strong in this department, but I got to give it to the iPhone here. After 11 months, it's been phenomenal. And the fact that they're going to make this phone thicker and increase the battery life even more makes it pretty exciting to see what's coming with the 18 Pro Max, along with a 2nm chipset, giving you not only better efficiency, and if they go with the Apple C2 modem, we are going to have the entire phone being basically controlled top to down from Apple with a more refined iOS 27. Kind of makes this 18 Pro Max seem like a dream battery life phone. So we'll have to see what happens there. But Samsung really got to step it up on the next Ultra line with this 5,000 milliamp stuff they've been doing for years. It's time to go up a bit in the size. For real. We need to see a silicon carbon type battery, a bigger one as well, and give us battery life that truly stomps on the competition, because we haven't seen it just yet. This is just another S25 Ultra like battery life phone, but maybe slightly better due to the efficiency and the better thermals on this device. And when it comes to the special features, I'm going to call this one to the Samsung with their S Pen, but we do have ourselves a camera control button here, action button over there. On this one, we are rocking that S Pen, which is very, very useful compared to a lot of other phones. You can use this to navigate and stuff like that. For some people, it's basically useless though. So again, comes down to personal preferences, what you're going to use and stuff like that. I will say though that the audio quality was better on the iPhone. It got slightly louder and sounded slightly better when you were at max volume, but it was very, very close. I mean, to the range of like a decibel to a decibel and a half. You can see we also do have a SIM card slot on the S26 Ultra, which makes this the much better option for those of you who are just not down with the forced eSIM business. For me, that was one of the most annoying changes on the iPhone in years, and the fact that we're still, I mean, we're not going to see SIM card again, probably. We're sticking with eSIM, but at this point, yeah, we figured out how to do it, and I think a lot of people figured out how to do the transfers, but that doesn't make it any less annoying. I love the freedom of a SIM card on the S26 Ultra. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. 11 months in with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. By comparison to the S26 Ultra, which phone has been the better device? I would say that the iPhone is the better device if you're entrenched into the Apple ecosystem. However, the actual hardware, I still think Samsung is still taking the win, except for their front-facing camera. I like the one on the iPhone. And but other than that, I mean, you have privacy display innovations. You have S Pen, which is still unique to this series of device. You do have a triple camera setup that can go much further on the zoom. So this hardware just feels a slightly bit a cut above, but I think that the iPhone was more exciting though, simply because it went with a more unique two-tone design. It does give you just like they changed it up a little bit more with that, with this whole look on the back. Samsung's still looks like the S25 Ultra. So I'm looking forward more to the S27 Ultra to see what they do there. But that's my take here at 11 months. I will give you probably another speed test. I will be giving another update on these probably as they hit, a little bit older. And we'll be doing some comparisons to the Pixel 10 Pro, 11 Pro XL, as well as to the upcoming 18 series, 18 Pro Max. If there's a fold, we'll consider throwing that one in the mix as well. But if you found the video helpful, entertaining, or just enjoyable or fun to watch, thumbs up. I'll catch you on the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well and share your thoughts down below. Peace.